Hi everyone, this is Rowan here with Sandstone Care, and this is our inaugural video blog slash podcast. And I've got Walter Baker here with me. So Walter, can you tell us what you do with Sandstone Care?
I am a residential manager with Sandstone Care. I oversee the Recovery House, which is a clinical extension of Sandstone Care's program.
Okay, cool. And just for the listeners too, we call it Rally Point, and it's basically our sober living house. We like to use the term recovery living, just because we feel like it goes beyond sober living, and I'd love to have Walter weigh in on that in a little bit. But if you're looking at this online, then you'll also see Walter's story, and we talked about that earlier about his own recovery. And I just want to go back and highlight what was it that was different for you when you were actually able to get and stay sober. And how long have you been sober now?
Over 7 years now.
Wow, yeah, that's huge.
So it's a couple of days in a row.
Yeah.
I think for me, I had a friend called Desperation, and it was in my moment of ultimate desperation that I was finally able to surrender.
Okay.
I had spent most of my life fighting every kind of authority or organized group, religion, any organized activity, school, whatever it was. I fought against it, and I wanted to be outside of that. And it wasn't until I met desperation that I was able to surrender myself to something greater than me that was healthy.
Right.
I did get clean through a program myself, and it was there in that program that I was finally able to hit my knees and cry out to a power greater than myself.
Right.
And it was through that I found my recovery. I started off with sobriety early in the program, and sobriety is good. It's a good place to start.
Right.
But recovery is a lifestyle, and it encompasses a lot more than not using drugs or alcohol.
Right, and that's huge.
Yeah. And that's the piece for me that keeps me living well.
Right, so you're not just white knuckling
Exactly.
on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Life is worth living when you have happiness, when you have joy, when you're meeting your goals. It's exciting. You feel good about yourself. And why would somebody who feels good about themselves want to feel different? Why would you change that?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
And I can tell just from being around you that that's something that you live.
Right.
It's not something that you don't put on a happy face necessarily. Maybe you're not always 100%. I don't know you that well, but it seems like you really do have a lot of life and a lot of passion for just your day-to-day even.
Yeah, and I'm human, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I have down days, I have off days. I get sad. Excuse me, I get mad, just like everyone else. But I've learned some tools along the way, and it's how I deal with my emotions today. It's how I handle things that are put in front of me day to day. Can I take a second and look at myself and say, why do I feel this way? What's happening? What have I done?
Mm-hmm.
Have I taken care of my side of the street? Can I reach out to a friend and say, hey, I don't feel well. Something's not right. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm scared. Does this sound right to you?
That's huge.
Yeah, and I think there lies the foundation of my recovery. So I have this toolkit that sits alongside my spirituality, and whenever I need it, I just take it out And I take out the tool and I say, okay, is it the screwdriver? Nope. Maybe it's the nope. Maybe it's the hammer. You know.
I love that image. That's a great image.
Yeah.
Nice. So, we spoke at the beginning briefly about how sober living and recovery living, we like to distinguish the two, and we call Rally Point a recovery living house because, like you spoke to, it's more than just being sober.
It is.
And can you speak a little bit to how Rally Point is different than other sober living houses?
Sure. Your standard sober living house has got usually a young man in there who's fairly new in recovery, or woman, young man or woman, and they are either staying there for free or maybe getting a small stipend, and it's their job to make sure that you get your meeting list checked off and you do your little house chore and that you're in by curfew.
Right.
And other than that, they're basically directly your peer. The only thing that separates them from a young person in recovery is about a year of sober time.
Okay.
For us, it is our goal to impart a recovery lifestyle to the people who come through our house. Sobriety is a good place to start. And a lot of people, when they walk in the door, I'll ask them, why are you here? And they'll say, to get sober. Okay, good. That's a great place to start. Drugs are bad. But if we don't replace that with something else, then why would you stay clean? Why not just go back? So we want to give a new lifestyle, a happy, healthy, productive lifestyle that is spiritually fit, physically fit, emotionally and mentally fit, and showing growth in all those areas. Now, we're not looking for perfection by any means. We're far from perfect people. But growth. Growth is what validates ourselves. Growth is what builds our self-esteem. That value, that intrinsic value that one needs, you know?
Right.
Because if life sucks, why not drink and drug?
Right.
At least I'll be happy for a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But if life is awesome, why drink and drug? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I'm having so much fun doing this, then this other thing over here doesn't, it's not that it doesn't happen, it's that it never would happen. Why would, that wouldn't even make sense.
Right.
So giving this recovery lifestyle to the young people who come through, the way that's done, I think, is the most important thing.
Okay.
Never do we kind of shove an idea down someone's throat. It's more through a modeling.
Okay.
And letting the people see my walk and see my day-to-day. Letting them get to know me. And when they have questions, when they have concerns, now it's safe for them to come to me with those questions and concerns and say, hey, Walter, what do you think about this? And I can say, well, this is what I think and this is what I do.
Right.
You know, and they get to go process that and say, maybe there's something more here.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that really speaks to, it sounds like your passion for the recovery lifestyle and for sharing that with the people who come through your door at Rally Point. And I also imagine that a lot of the listeners will want to know about the nuts and bolts a little bit. Because you started with some of the basics, and that you're really imparting the lifestyle as opposed to just happen to be sober for a little longer than people who live with you. What are the nuts and bolts of what makes the operation and the daily structure of Rally Point different than, let's say, Oxford House or something?
Right. The main thing that separates us is that we're an extension of the Sandstone Care clinical team.
Okay.
So we have direct communication and access to all of the clinicians, and we communicate back and forth regularly.
Yeah.
So instead of, and I'll use an analogy here, of a young child going to school and getting a math lesson and then walking out of math class, and then math goes out the ear.
Right.
Everything teacher said, homework goes out the ear.
Right.
They come home to us, and we already know what's been going on, and we get to reinforce the clinical message.
Right.
And
because you're friends with the teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, when they're not in the clinical setting, we get to observe and report on their behaviors,
right,
so that the clinical team is fully aware. So again, when kid goes to class and he wants to put on that face of I'm an angel, everything's fine,
yeah,
we already know everything's not fine.
Right.
So it gives us a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so the other piece I wanted to speak to and check in with you about is what drew you to Sandstone Care. How did you choose to do this versus other ways of being involved in the recovery community, or you've had other career paths as well, and why not go back to those?
So I chose Sandstone Care primarily because so many of my brothers and sisters from my program came here.
Okay.
So I kept hearing the name Sandstone. And so eventually interest was piqued, what is sandstone? And
would you also mind sharing what program that was that you have that community from?
The Stout Street Foundation.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Which is an excellent community.
Yeah.
Have a lot of love for Stout
Street.
Street.
Program.
It is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So I kept hearing the name Sandstone, and I would learn little bits and pieces, and there was a very specific piece, and that is the communication piece between the recovery living house and the clinical team that really turned me on.
Right.
I always thought that there needed to be a transitional living situation that was directly connected through a clinical program in order to foster a strong recovery.
Right.
I always thought that, and I saw so many people fail who came from other programs like Stout Street or Pier 1 or Salvation Army. They complete the program and then fly, little birdie, they go away.
Right.
And there's no real step down. There's no real help in getting from, okay, you are okay now, to what does real life actually look like.
Because Stout Street has such a strong container, as do many other residential programs, which is wonderful and a great place to start.
Sure, yeah. But I saw an opportunity to be involved at the ground level and touch lives. And therein piqued my interest. I'm not big on doing things for the sake of doing things.
Right.
I want my time to be meaningful. I want my work to be meaningful. And here is the opportunity to do that. I live a recovery lifestyle. And so coming here for me, it's not like work so much.
Great.
It's more like I get to live my life with some other young men, and I get to touch and affect them in a positive way. And for just the briefest of moments in their life, you know, it's a wonderful feeling for me. I really enjoy it.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I think that's such a huge piece, to be able to share a lifestyle that you're proud of and also have that be your livelihood.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, And I just want to say I'm really grateful to be working with you, and that
Thanks, Rowan.
it's I think we're really lucky to have you, and your passion and just what you do for the young men that stay with you, and I know that the clinical team really appreciates it too. So
Thank you, Rowan.
yeah, thank you.